Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the roaring sands of the Colosseum, where warriors did not rely on CGI, stunt doubles, or safety nets, but on grit, steel, and sheer will. Forget the Hollywood heroics and slow-motion kills you see in movies. The real story is about blinding sun, clashing metal, and the roar of 70,000 Romans hungry for blood and triumph. So tonight we ask what it actually felt like to face your opponent, sword in hand and fate in the crowd's hands. Every bout came with glory and grim danger, so let me know where you're tuning in from and what time it is where you are. It is always incredible to see whose land we tread through these ancient stones. Now dim the lights, pull your blanket close, and let's step into that arena together. Your eyes open before the sun. The air is heavy with the scent of sweat and straw, and something sharp and metallic that you know is oil on your sword. You push yourself upright on the narrow cot and feel every ache from yesterday's training. Your back reminds you how a strong strike feels. Your shoulders whisper of every morning haul of wood needed to fuel the forge. You sit on the edge of your bedroll and swing your legs down, wrapping your hands in the same cloth you wore yesterday. It is damp and rough, but familiar. The ludus is stirring. You can hear the trainers moving through the corridors, shouting names and counting steps. The bronze braziers are lit now, and smoke drifts toward open windows. Beyond them you glimpse the first pale light that will soon warm the sand of the arena. You breathe in deep. The cold air tastes of promise and fear, and you welcome both. You stand and stretch, bending at the waist and touching the floor. Muscles pop quietly, and you savor the sound. You walk out of the small room you share with two others, and enter the main hall where rows of wooden dummies stand stiff and waiting. Their arms resemble oars ready to split your blade. You know this place well. You know how the light falls here in the morning. You know the path that takes you from these drills to the ritual bath at midday. Every step is mapped in your mind like the veins in your own hands. Your sponsor arrives at the edge of the hall just as you raise your sword for the first cut. He wears a tunic of white and crimson and a gold medallion that marks him as one of the city's richest. He watches you without speaking. His eyes are sharp but kind. You lower your weapon and bow your head in respect. This morning greeting is as much part of your routine as the salt in your water and the bread in your pouch. The bond between sponsor and fighter is forged on trust. He feeds your body, and in return you feed his pride. You nod at him and see the faintest smile. You know he believes in you. You move to a dummy and begin the footwork. Left strike, right strike, block, step back, step forward. Your fists meet flesh twice before the dummy's arms fall with a hollow thud. A trainer calls out corrections. Your back foot is too high, your shoulder too tense. You adjust. You find the rhythm again. Every movement burns with purpose. You do not lose focus even for a heartbeat. When the sequence ends, you drop to one knee and offer the dummy a quick salute. The trainers nod their approval, and your sponsor gives a crisp clap. You rise with power in your legs and move toward the next station. There you lift a heavy wooden shield slick with oil. You practice the test known as the arms inspection drill. Weak shields crack and bend. Yours stays true. Your sponsor's eyes narrow a moment in satisfaction. Morning turns brighter, and the hall warms. You pause at a basin to drink water that tastes of moss and stone. You sip slowly. Each drop soothes your throat and steels your resolve. You can taste yesterday's sweat still clinging to your tongue. You lick your lips and swipe the last bit of mud from your cheek. This life offers no luxury. Even your sandals are simple leather tied with cord. And yet this sparseness is the forge that makes you strong. Between drills, you sit with your fellow fighters outside on low benches. Bread is passed around, and a bowl of dried figs appears. You break a piece with your teeth and chew it gratefully. Another man offers a chunk of cheese far saltier than any you have known. You taste it and wince, but you eat it anyway. Nourishment here is precious. Every crumb is carried to your mouth with care, Your sponsor waits at a distance, but he steps closer when you catch his eye. He speaks softly. He asks if you need more water or a break. You shake your head. You tell him the smoke from the braziers helps you feel awake. He laughs once, a low sound, and tells you to remember he gave you that edge. You nod again. You feel a warmth in your chest, not from the sun, from the knowledge that someone powerful believes you can survive what comes next. The final drill comes faster. Rope climbs and weighted bags thrown overhead. You hoist yourself high and kick your legs out. You feel the rubbery stretch of your calf muscles. You land lightly and grab the bag. You hurl it backward until it crashes into the wall. Dust clouds swirl. You steady your breathing and lift again. Your arms shake. You embrace the shaking. It is the tremor of life and of challenge. The final bag falls, and you exhale a long breath. You gather with the others in a circle. The sponsor steps forward and raises his hand. He declares you ready for today's small exhibition. It will not be a true fight, only a demonstration of skill to entertain the local merchants and nobles who crowd the stands of the small training arena. It is practice for nerves. It is practice for glory. You stand tall. You feel the grin spread across your face. You look at the trainers. You look at your comrades. You feel the weight of the sword balanced in your hand. You feel the eyes of your city upon you. You feel the pride of your sponsor and the pride in your own blood. This morning was meant to build your body, to build your mind, to forge your will. And in these hours, before the sun climbs high, you realize how far you have come, from fearful recruit to confident fighter, from trembling novice to measured gladiator. When the call comes to line up, you obey without hesitation. You shoulder your shield and take your place at the edge of the sand. You smell the earth beneath your feet. You feel the itch of the sun on your skin. You feel the surge of energy from the crowd gathering beyond the walls. You nod at your fellow fighters. You hear the clink of armor. You know this life is brutal. You know it is brief. You know it will test every part of you, and you cannot wait. The hall empties, and you follow the stream of fighters toward the dining courtyard. Geese, low in the pen, turn their heads as you pass. Hens cluck and peck at straw. In this corner of the ludus, life seems gentle compared to the training ground, yet you know the tender scene is temporary. Soon you will be called back to the shields and the swords. A long wooden table waits beneath a vine-covered pergola. Benches line each side. You sit beside your comrades. Across from you is the man who arrived on the same day and still has the worst luck with the sword dummy. He grins when he sees you, showing a missing tooth. You return the smile, even though your jaw aches from yesterday's sparring. A servant lad sets bowls of porridge before each fighter. The steam rises in soft curls. It smells of grain and milk. You dig in. You spoon the thick oats into your mouth and feel warmth spread through your chest. This simple meal tastes like victory. It tastes like survival. Next, the lad brings a platter of grapes and olives. You tug one from the cluster and pop it in your mouth. The juice bursts on your tongue, sweet relief against the rough porridge. You reach for an olive and bite through the firm flesh. A hint of brine coats your tongue. You savor the contrast of flavors. This small feast is part of the gift your sponsor gives you. He tracks down the best ingredients in the market. He pays far more than the tavern rates. He does it to show the world he values you. Your sponsor arrives at the far end of the table, wrapped in a cloak of fine wool. He carries a small chest which he sets beside him. The men near him drop their voices. You feel the gentle hush that follows when he clears his throat. You pause with spoon halfway to your lips. He opens the chest and slides out 2 loaves of dark rye with seeds on the crust. He breaks one in half and offers you a piece. You take it. The bread is warm. The crust crackles softly. You taste the tang of sourdough. You bite down and feel all the effort of farmers and millers and bakers who brought this loaf to life. You nod in thanks. He nods back. In that instant, you understand the bond between sponsor and fighter. He gives you fuel for your body. He gives you faith in your cause. You give him honor in the arena. You give him stories that travel the empire. His wealth speaks for itself. Your victories speak louder. As you eat more grapes, he strides to the opposite end of the table. He watches the younger fighters inspect their meal with hopeful eyes and nervous hands. He smiles and raises his cup of watered wine. Everyone follows suit, even you, who knows the old wine tastes of vinegar. You clink mugs and drink slowly. The tang warms your belly. It chases away the last tremor of hunger. A trainer appears with a basket of small fish caught that dawn. Silver scales glint in the sunlight. He offers one to each of you. You hold it in your hand and admire the sleek shape. You bite off the head first and then chew the meat in steady strokes. The grain from your porridge mixes with salt from the sea. The flavors swirl on your tongue. You chew methodically, mindful of each bone. You swallow. You nod at the trainer. He nods back. Such feasts are rare. You know it. The sea has been unkind to the harvest. Between bites, you lean toward your companion. He asks how your bruises feel. You rub your ribs and say they'll be gone by tomorrow. He laughs. His ribs throb in sympathy. You know you'll wake stiff in the morning, but the pain is proof of progress. Each bruise is a promise that you are stronger than you were yesterday. At the far end of the courtyard, a group of trainers gathers around your sponsor. You listen as they discuss the coming exhibition. Which weapons to show, which moves to highlight. You hear mention of net and trident work. You feel a flutter of excitement. Today you will dance on sand in front of marble columns and cheering faces. You will turn sweat into applause. The meal ends with fruit and honey. A servant lad drizzles golden syrup over figs sliced in half. You let the sticky juice run across your tongue, sweetness settled among the tart porridge and salty fish. Your belly is full, your mind is sharpened. You lean back, stretch your arms overhead, and feel the cracks in your shoulders pop. It is a small symphony of your own resilience. Your sponsor stands and calls for the swords to be polished. The men rise and move as one. Each carries a blade to the forging area. You follow, leaving behind empty bowls and scraps. The courtyard empties until only you and your sponsor remain. He steps beside you. He claps your shoulder once, lightly. You feel the pressure on your skin. You meet his eyes. He says nothing. You say nothing. But you both know you are ready. Together you walk toward the armory. Each step is measured. Each breath is deep. The morning light gleams on steel and brass. The weapons wave like silent promises. You reach out and pick up your gladius. The weight is familiar. It rests in your hand like an extension of your arm. You test the balance with a small flick. The blade hums. You smile. Your sponsor watches. Pride shines in his eyes. You bow. He meets your bow with a smile that brightens the dim light of the forge. Then you both turn. You step back onto the training floor. The day has only just begun. The arena waits. The crowd waits. Today you will show them what you can do. You breathe deep. You taste the last fig's honey on your lips. You lift your sword for the first drill in the sun. Your heart pounds. Your muscles hum. You are home. Dawn still hangs low when you slip into the smithy. Shadows crowd the walls where tools rest on rough wooden pegs. The air is thick with heat and the hiss of water on glowing metal. You step around coals that burn orange bright. Sparks drift upward like fireflies drawn to the ceiling. A tall figure stands at the center of the shop, hammer raised, brow glistening with sweat. This is your trainer's domain. He sets the hammer down and turns. His eyes are hard as forged steel. He does not smile. You offer a nod. He nods back once. That is enough greeting. He picks up a length of iron plate and holds it out for you to examine. You feel the weight, a blank piece that will become more than simple metal. It will become your shield. He taps the edge with the hammer. You hear the ring of true craft. He hands you a small file. He expects you to smooth the imperfect edges before he works the shape. You run the file along the rim. Metal dust flakes off with each stroke. Your muscles strain. The dust settles on your brow and clings to your hair. You do not mind. Every bit of effort is part of the ritual. Once you finish, he returns the plate to the heat and waves you aside. He brings down the hammer in a shower of sparks. He raises it again and lands precise, measured blows. The plate bends under his will. It curves just so, the shape of protection. You step forward to hold the leather strap while he hammers. With each impact, your arm vibrates. You taste iron in your mouth. He nods once in approval. Pieces of leather lie stacked nearby. You choose one that is thick and supple. You cut it free and inspect the grain. This will line the helmet. You measure the inner curve and mark the leather. You slice along the marks with a curved knife as sharp as a surgeon's tool. The trainer steps over and inspects your work. He traces your cut with a finger. No praise, no rebuke, just a single tilt of his head. You know that means you did well. Next come the swords. A rack of short blades stands against the far wall. Blades of every length and weight, each one honed by a master. You reach for the one you fought with yesterday. It feels right in your hand. The grip is perfectly wrapped in cord. The point is sharp, but balanced. You draw it free and let it hang by your side. The trainer watches as you test the edge with a small flick. You slice through the air with ease. He nods again. He gestures to two other swords. One is slightly heavier. You lift it and feel the difference. The other is longer. You thrust it through the air, feeling the extra reach tug at your arm. He lets you test each one. Then he motions you back to your favored blade. He wants you to choose. You weigh them again. Then you settle on your sword. You sheath it and feel a surge of calm. At the forge, you kneel before a low anvil. The smoke swirls around you. You lift the tongs and pick up the curved rim you hammered earlier. You place it on the anvil. You slide a leather glove onto your hand. You grip the cold iron and hold your breath as the trainer brings his hammer down to punch a hole for the chin strap. The metal bends with a small pop. You release your breath. He wipes his brow and hands you a leather thong. You thread it through the hole and tie a knot. Armor is more than metal. It is your second skin. You feel the weight as you lift the curved piece to your head. The leather lining presses against your scalp. You adjust until it sits just above your brow. The trainer steps closer. He taps the rim. You feel the vibration echo in your skull. He nods again. Then he steps back and lets you strap on the gorget, the breastplate, the greaves. Each piece fits snugly against your body. You move your arms. You bend your knees. You test the range of motion. The armor holds firm and does not rattle. You bow your head and offer your thanks. The trainer nods once more. You snap your fingers twice at your hip. The sword slides free. You spin it in a flourish. The metal sings in your hand. Then he invites you to the training ring. The sun has climbed higher now. Dust drifts upward from the sand. The day has begun. You step outside. The gladiators who train beside you pause their drills. They watch as you cross the threshold between forging and fighting. You feel their eyes on your armor. You feel the weight of their respect. You walk to the center of the circle. Your sponsor awaits with a small pouch of oil. He brushes it across the blade. It gleams in the sunlight. You hand the sword back. He nods. Then he steps away, letting the trainer take charge once more. You bow to the trainer. He bows back. No words pass between you. None are needed. You stand ready, shield in one hand, sword in the other. The morning drills were a promise. Forging was the proof. Now you will move as one with metal and muscle. The trainer raises his staff. His iron eye glints with purpose. You step forward. You embrace the weight of armor. You welcome the promise of combat. You are forged. You are armed. You are becoming the fighter you will be. And the arena calls your name. The training ring is a circle of packed earth rimmed by rough stones and low wooden barriers. You step inside and shake off the last of the metal dust clinging to your boots. The midday sun falls directly above, blessing the arena with bright light that turns your armor into a beacon. The other gladiators pause in their drills and turn to watch as the trainer takes position at the edge of the circle and raises his voice. No words are needed. The crack of his staff against the ground calls you forward. Your sponsor slips behind the barrier, eyes steady as you face the first right of steel. Your opponent steps in. He is broad-shouldered and younger than you. His chestnut hair is cropped short. He wields a trident that gleams like silver in the sun. Your own sword feels familiar in your hand, its edge honed to a keen line. Your shield straps snug against your forearm. The weight is a reminder that this is not a game. You circle each other slowly. Sand shifts beneath your sandals. Sweat pools at the back of your neck. The crowd of trainees murmurs. You hear the soft chant of leather on wood as the other fighters ready themselves in their own matches. You lock eyes with the trident-wielding man and see a spark of something familiar in his gaze. Respect, fear, a spark of hope. He lunges first, thrusting the trident forward with sudden speed. You raise your shield to meet it. The prongs scrape across the bronze rim in a shower of sparks. The wood vibrates with the force of his strike. You step back and absorb the blow. Your forearm burns from the impact, but you hold firm. You respond with a slash. Your sword arcs through the air. He lifts his trident in time to block. The two weapons collide. Metal sings against metal, and a shock travels up your arm. You catch your breath. The trainer nods once from the edge of the ring. His iron eye does not blink. You press forward. You slash low at his calf. He twists away. Your sword bites into the sand. A spray of granules scatters. You twist with the strike. Your armor shifts against your ribs. You feel the seal of the plate sliding over the leather beneath. It is snug enough to protect, loose enough to move. He counters with a sweeping arc aimed at your shoulder. You raise the shield. His strike clangs and your feet slip. You drop to one knee to regain balance. The trident is already rising for another blow. You spin on the spot and slash diagonally across his side. The tip of your blade finds a gap in his armor. A thin line of red blooms on his tunic. He staggers. You press the attack. You thrust forward. The trident tips toward the sky. He raises his shield arm just in time. Your sword slides across his forearm. He winces. The trainer steps forward. He lifts his staff and strikes the ground. The echo is loud enough to hush the ring. You both break and back away, breathing hard. Your chest heaves. His eyes flicker with adrenaline. You return to your starting positions. The trainer does not speak. He simply steps aside and nods. The crowd of trainees lets out a low sigh. You and your opponent both bow. It is not mock politeness. It is a pledge of mutual respect and a vow to push each other harder. After a moment, the trainer raises his staff again. You both step forward for a second bout. Now you can taste the fight in the air. You hear the crowd lean forward. The moment stretches. You feel your pulse in your ears. This time you feint to the left. He shifts his weight to block. You pivot on your heel and strike his free thigh. You feel the trident drop an inch. You flow forward with the momentum. You raise your sword overhead and bring it down in a controlled blow that lands on the haft of his trident. The force drives him backward. His boots dig into the sand. He twists away and catches his balance. You do not pause. You drop into a low stance and slash upward. He raises his leg with the trident. The tip catches you at mid-thigh. It grazes your leg. You hiss as the leather greave bites into your flesh. You spin away. You grip your wounded thigh. Sand sticks to the blood. The trainer steps forward and drops the staff. He points at your leg. You lower your sword and square your shoulders. He nods and snaps his fingers. Your sponsor appears with a bandage. He kneels and presses the cloth over your wound. It is not gentle. You grit your teeth as he ties the strip with brisk efficiency. The bite of leather on raw skin is sharp. You exhale and nod. Your opponent returns the gesture, and you both step back. The trainer waves you forward one more time. You nod at your sword arm. The man nods at his trident arm. It is the final exchange. You lower your guard, and he lowers his. The fight ends not with a kill blow, but with a shared victory. You feel the weight of his respect. He salutes you with the haft of his trident. You salute him with the flat of your blade. The crowd of trainees applauds softly. The trainer steps between you and raises his staff above his head. He speaks for the first time since dawn. Well done. Your voice is caught in your throat. You nod. You bow your head again. You feel every drop of sweat cooling in the shade of the pergola. You taste the dust of the ring on your tongue. Your sponsor claps twice and ushers you both toward the water trough. You rinse the sand from your blade. You soak your sword hand to ease the ache in your wrist. You lift the water to your lips and drink deeply. The cold liquid splashes down your throat. It calms the burning in your thigh. Your sponsor places a hand on your shoulder. You look up. He gives you a proud smile. You meet his gaze and feel warmth flood through you. A single moment of triumph after hours of toil. The trainer moves on to the next pair of fighters. The ring stirs again. You and your opponent return to the forge where the next piece of armor awaits your care. The sun climbs higher. The day continues. You are forging the fighter. Every strike of hammer and every drop of sweat shapes you. Every clash of blade hones you. Under the trainer's iron eye, you grow stronger, sharper, and ready for the sands beyond the walls. Dawn still lingers in the sky when you step out onto the cobbled street. The city yawns and stretches under violet light as vendors begin to set up their stalls. You adjust the straps of your armor so the breastplate does not rub your collarbone raw. You rest a hand on the hilt of your sword and breathe in the scent of baking bread and roasting meat. Today is the day you face the crowd beyond the arena walls. You feel your heart tighten with a mixture of pride and nerves. Your sponsor stands at the corner of the street, regal beneath his crimson cloak. He greets you with a firm nod. You offer him your helmet in salute. He places it on your head with gentle care. The lining fits snugly, the crest gleaming in the morning light. You lift the visor and catch the reflection of your own eyes. In that moment, you see the fighter you have become. Drummers begin to beat a steady rhythm ahead. Trumpets sound from balconies above. Banners unfurl and catch the breeze. You join the procession. Fellow gladiators walk in two lines, shields on one arm, swords on the other, moving as one body of steel and muscle. The people press on both sides of the street. Their faces shine with excitement. They clap and shout your name. You offer them a wave, your arm heavy with armor, but your spirit light as a breeze. Children scurry forward to catch a glimpse. Their eyes shine wide. They throw petals onto the path. You step carefully through the confetti of rose and laurel leaves. The petals brush your greaves and tumble into the gutters. A child holds out a tiny wreath of flowers. You bend down and accept it. You tuck it into your belt. It will remind you of this moment forever. Bakers offer you sweet rolls. You take one and break off a piece. The sugar glaze sticks to your fingers. You taste the warmth of fresh dough. For a second time this morning, you feel gratitude. Gratitude for the city that supports you, for the bread that fuels you, for the crowds that believe in you. A troupe of dancers emerges into the march. Their costumes shimmer in gold and blue. They spin and leap between rows of fighters. They toss streamers of cloth into the air. The streamers fall like bright rain. You watch them drift down and catch on your pauldrons. You smile at the dancers as they pass. They wink and beckon you onward. You pass the forum. Marble columns rise against a pale sky. Merchants haggle in the open air. A philosopher debates with a scribe at a small table. You hear the crackle of parchment and the hiss of quills. But your fate lies not in ink, but in the sand of the arena. Trumpets sound again, this time louder. You feel the pulse of the music in your veins. The procession enters the Flavian gate. Lions of stone flank the steps. The gate stands tall and forbidding. Guards in scarlet tunics ring the portal. They part the crowd. You step through. A hush falls. The street noise fades. All you hear is the beating of your own heart. Light spills in from above. You lift your head. The lower tier of the Colosseum crowds you. Thousands of faces lean forward on stone benches. The air hums with expectation. A herald proclaims your name. The crowd roars. Trumpets blast again. You raise your sword overhead. Steel glints in sunlight. You feel the weight of every hand clap, every shout, every breath in the vast circle around you. The procession winds into the arena proper. Gladiators line the edge of the sand. They stand shoulder to shoulder. You join ranks. The earth beneath your boots is fine and pale. It crunches softly with each step. You taste grit on your tongue. Your sponsor stands on the platform of honor. He nods at you. You nod back. You glimpse the emperor in his box. He sits beside a circle of nobles. Their eyes are keen. Their posture regal. You sense their power, but you feel no fear. This is your moment. You have been forged by iron will and scorching heat of the forge. You have been shaped by the hammer and anvil of training. You have been tested by sweat and blood and sand. Now you stand ready beneath the open sky, beneath the roar of the city, beneath the watchful gaze of the empire. A drum roll begins. It echoes beneath the arches. The doors at the far end of the arena rise. Sunlight floods in. The hush turns into a desperate roar. You take a deep breath. You plant your feet firmly. You feel the leather lining of your helmet warm against your skin. You grip your sword. You raise your shield. You would not last a day unprepared. But you have trained. You have fought. You have survived. Now the sands of the Colosseum await your steps. And you are ready. The doors at the far end of the arena rise with a rumble. A gust of hot, dusty air rolls past you. You step forward and pause at the threshold. The sand is deeper here, soft beneath your boots. It shifts with each breath you take, as if waiting to swallow you whole. You feel the sun beating down on your helmet. Tiny beads of sweat gather at the back of your neck. You look to your left. A fellow fighter offers you a nod. His armor is dented from previous contests. You see pride in his eyes. You return the nod. Comrades share no words now. Everything worth saying fits in a brief glance. You step onto the sand. The crowd's roar swells like the tide. You feel it in your bones. You feel it in your chest. You taste grit on your tongue. You feel small and vast all at once, lost in the sea of faces, and yet at the center of the world. The announcer's voice booms across the stands. He names each of you one by one. The words echo off the walls. You hear your name and smile beneath the helmet. This is why you trained. This is why you endured cold baths and blistered feet and endless drills. To hear this moment, to stand here alive. Your sponsor stands in his box, hands clasped. Pride shines in his eyes. You catch his gaze and raise your shield. The crowd roars in response. The sound is like thunder and makes your heart race again. A group of standard bearers advances into the center with banners flying. Each banner bears the emblem of a Lannister. Yours is a gold hawk on a field of crimson. The cloth snaps in the breeze as the bearers march around the circle. You follow their progress with careful eyes. They represent your training school, your family, your bond to the sand. As the last banner passes you, the bearers wheel away. They exit through the same doors you entered. You know what comes next. The moment of stillness, before steel meets flesh. A trumpet sounds, high and clear. You raise your sword overhead. The air hums with tension. Then the trumpet fades. The sand shifts under your boots. You lower your blade to your shoulder and rest your shield on the rim of the arena. You breathe in the roar. You breathe in the heat. The veteran gladiator beside you crouches and touches the sand with a gloved hand. He grunts softly. You watch him. His movements are practiced, ritualized. You feel the urge to join him. You crouch, reach down, and let the sand run through your fingers. It slips cool against your palm. You taste it. It tastes of dust, sweat, hope. You straighten. The trumpeters strike again. This time 2 notes, brief and commanding. You hear the clatter of weapons being drawn. You see the last glint of metal pulled free from scabbards. You lift your visor and blink. The crowd roars once more. Your opponent emerges. He wears a different style of armor. His shield is oval and curved, his sword longer than yours. He pauses at the edge of the circle. He lifts his shield in salute. You lift yours in return. A final exchange before the storm. The trainer's signal comes without warning. A single shout and a sharp tap of his staff on the sand. Your opponent lunges. You meet him head on. Your shield and his clash. You taste dust and sweat on your tongue. You step back and absorb the blow. Your forearm shudders. You respond with a quick slash. He blocks with his shield. The 2 of you circle, boots crunching in the sand. You hear your sponsor breathe sharply above. You hear the crowd hush for a moment, and then fill the silence with a low chant. You dodge a thrust aimed at your side. You feel the point of the other sword graze your mail. It stings, but does not bite. You counter with a thrust of your own. The tip of your blade glances off his armor. You taste victory and frustration both on your tongue. Heat and sweat cloud your vision. The sun burns the back of your neck. You swallow. Your throat is dry. You lift your shield to your lips and pour a trickle of water from your canteen. It splashes into your mouth. You feel life flood back into your limbs. Your opponent attacks again. A sweeping overhead strike. You block and pivot. You slash low at his leg. He jumps. You follow through, drive your sword home. Sand flies. He stumbles backward. The crowd rises to its feet. You can hear the drumbeat of hundreds of hearts. You press the advantage. You feint left. He raises his shield. You step inside his guard and strike at his shoulder. Metal cracks. He grips his shield strap and winces. You draw a breath and deliver the finishing blow. He falls. The sand cushions him. He lies still. A hush falls over the stands. You stand erect. Your chest heaves. You breathe in the roar, as if capturing it in your lungs. You grip your sword with both hands and lift it overhead. Triumph and relief wash through you like a tide. The trainer strides forward and places his staff on the sand between you and your fallen adversary. He raises his hand. The crowd holds its breath. Then he lowers his arm. Victory. Your shield trembles in your grip. You lower your sword and sheath it. You bow to the crowd. They cheer again, louder than before. You turn to your sponsor's box. He stands and claps. Tears glisten in his eyes. You lift your hand in a wave of gratitude for the man who believed in you from the start. The trainer joins you at the edge. He places a hand on your shoulder. He nods once and smiles faintly. You meet his gaze. He says nothing. None is needed. You have earned this moment. You exit the ring. Your legs feel like lead. Your body aches in places you did not know could ache, but you feel lighter than air. You feel alive. You feel honored. The crowd's applause echoes in your ears as you pass back through the gate into the sunlit corridor. You emerge into the courtyard where your fellow fighters wait. They clap you on the back. They slap you on the shoulder. You grin and greet each one by name. A bard plays a lute by the fountain. He begins to sing your name. You stop to listen. You hold out a hand for a coin. You toss it into his open case. He bows. The city beyond the walls hums with life. Merchants haggle. Children chase dogs. Smoke curls from rooftops. You feel the world spread beneath your feet. You are both part of it, and set apart by the gold laurel wreath now on your head. You close your eyes and inhale deeply. You taste dust and sweat and glory. You smile. Today you walked from the forge to the crowd. Today you proved your mettle in sand and sun. Today you became a story the city will remember. Tomorrow you will don new armor. You will pick up fresh blades. You will walk again into the raw. But in this moment you rest. You have marched to the arena. You have met your trial. You have triumphed. And the Empire looks on. You awaken before dawn within the shadowed corridors of the Colosseum. The stones are cool beneath your palms as you stand and stretch. You slip past torches flickering with smoky light. The scent of incense drifts from the chamber ahead. You inhale deeply. Notes of frankincense and myrrh mingle with the dry dust that coats every surface. Your heart quickens. You step into the inner sanctum. A small group of priests stands before a raised dais. Long white robes trail on the marble floor. Behind them hangs a tapestry of crimson and gold, the emperor's emblem woven in threads of silk. In their hands they hold censers of bronze. The chains sway in their fingers, wafting plumes of perfumed smoke. You feel the smoke drift across your face like a blessing. A high priest raises his hands. He bows his head and intones a prayer in a low voice. The words are ancient and holy. You do not understand them fully. You feel their power reverberate in your chest. You bow your head in respect. Your sponsor stands behind you, silent, eyes steady. You know he has arranged this blessing for you. He believes your fate merits divine favor. One by one, the priests touch your armor. Their fingers brush your greaves, your breastplate, your helmet. Wherever they touch, a faint warmth spreads through the metal. You feel your blood pulse. You feel the sand waiting for you beyond these walls. A second priest sprinkles consecrated water onto the sand at your feet. Each droplet hisses, steam rises in tiny spirals. The priest traces a circle around you. He whispers a benediction for protection. You lift your shield to his gaze. He nods solemnly. Your sponsor offers a bowl of sacred oil. The priest pours it over your sword hilt. You feel the oil seep into the leather wrap. It gleams in candlelight. A third priest anoints your forehead with a single cross of ash. You close your eyes as the grainy smudge cools on your skin. In that moment, you feel bound to something greater than yourself. You feel the strength of ritual. When the rites conclude, the priests step back. The scents linger. Dust and incense swirl around you. You can almost taste the mixture on your lips. You breathe it in again. You close your eyes and imagine standing alone in the ring. You imagine all the world gone silent. You imagine the sand beneath your boots, the sun above your head, and the cheers beyond the walls. Your sponsor speaks at last. He places a hand on your shoulder and says one word, Fortune. You nod. You thank the priests in turn. They step aside and melt back into the shadows. You exit the inner sanctum and cross a narrow gallery. The walls are lined with niches that hold clay oil lamps. Their soft glow reveals frescoes of past triumphs. You see the figures of legendary fighters locked in combat. Their bodies glitter with sweat in the painted light. You feel their spirit guide you forward. At the end of the gallery, you descend a broad staircase. Each step shakes slightly underfoot as crowds gather above. You climb, heart pounding. You pass an open archway, and the roar of the people washes over you like a wave. The notes of trumpets cut through the din. The banners flutter overhead. You step onto the sand. The world narrows to scent and sound and light. Dust rises with every footfall. Sweat beads on your brow. The incense from the priests still clings to your armor. You taste it in the air. You lift your shield and taste victory on the rim of bronze. You heft your sword. You feel the world tilt into focus. The priest's blessing and the scent of incense remain with you. They ride with every beat of your heart. You embrace the scent of the sand and step forward into the blaze of the arena. The last notes of the blessing still echo in your mind as you step fully into the arena circle. The incense smoke has faded, but a faint trail lingers at the back of your throat. You taste frankincense even as the sun's rays burn your shoulders. Your shield feels warm against your arm. Your sword hums with purpose. A distant trumpet blast splits the air. You raise your shield just as a cloud of dust swirls at the far end of the sand. Your opponent appears through the haze. He moves like a living storm in slow motion. His armor is polished bronze. A white crest flies from his helmet. You recognize the mark of a rival Lannister. His sponsor's colors have led you here. Now you face one another beneath an unforgiving sky. The crowd holds its breath. You hear the hush, like a wave freezing mid-rise. For a heartbeat, the world is just you and him, and the scent of sweat and incense and sun-warmed sand. Then the crowd roars again and the drumbeat begins. It drums in your ears. It drums in your blood. He lunges first. His sword arcs overhead in a bright slash of steel. You bring your shield up and feel the ring of metal on metal. Your forearm vibrates. You bounce back on your toes, and the sand shifts beneath your boots. Your heart thunders, but you smell the sand beneath your feet more keenly. It is dry and dusty, and full of memories of every fighter who fell before you. You counter with a quick thrust. Your blade slides past his guard and grazes the bronze of his greave. Sparks arc as metal skims metal. He twists away just in time. You hear the scrape as his sandaled foot twists and digs into the earth. The dust kicks up and settles in tiny swirls around your ankles. You press forward. You feel the sun bake you from above. Sweat drips from your chin onto the sand. You wipe it with the back of your gauntleted hand. The edge of your vision flickers as a spark of sunlight dances off his visor. You steady your stance. You test the wind. A slight breeze carries a faint scent of incense from the morning rites. It lifts your spirits. He sidesteps and counters with a low slash aimed at your thigh. Your shield intercepts again. The force pushes you back another step. You taste dust on your tongue. You feel the weight of every blessing laid upon your armor. The trainer's voice calls your name from the top tier. His tone is even. You know he watches every move. You straighten your posture. You raise your chin. You meet your opponent's gaze squarely. He grins beneath his helmet. You sense no cruelty there, only challenge. You nod. He nods back. Then you both leap forward again. Your swords clash, ringing across the open sky. Dust flies from each impact. You feel an ache in your wrists. You feel heat rising under your cuirass. Your legs burn. You push on. The priest's blessing lingers now not as smoke but as courage. You remember their words. You remember the consecrated water that steamed as it hit the sand. You remember the ash cross on your brow. You feel that holy protection in your bones. You press your advantage. You feint a high strike. His guard lifts instinctively. You drive low, aiming for the laded plate over his thigh. Your sword finds purchase. He staggers. You hear a quiet grunt as the steel bites. You feel the vibration in your arm as he absorbs the blow. You taste iron in the air. You follow through with a spinning cut. His shield swings around to catch it. The blow glances off. You both snap back to guard. The sand shifts at your feet. You steady yourself. You wipe sweat from your brow. He launches a rapid series of strikes. You parry each one. One blow cracks hard against your shield rim and reverberates through your arm. You grit your teeth. You smell sweat mixing with incense. You taste grit on your lips. You taste victory on the tip of your blade. You riposte with a bright flash of steel. The tip of your sword finds the gap between his helmet and breastplate. A thin line of red blooms on his tunic. He winces, but does not fall. He squares his shoulders and raises his sword again. You respect his resilience. Your sponsor stands in his box, hand pressed to his brow. You catch his eye. He gives you a small nod. You feel his pride bolster your strength. A new breath fills your lungs. You charge. The crowd surges to its feet. Drums boom like distant thunder. You step into his guard and drive forward with both sword and shield. The sand crunches beneath your boots. You taste sweat and sun and sacrifice. You feel the breeze carry a faint echo of prayer from the priests above. He staggers backward. You press the attack. You catch his guard off balance. You thrust twice in quick succession. His sword flies from his grasp and clatters across the arena floor. You pause mid-strike. The crowd holds its breath. You lower your sword and raise your shield. You step back. You breathe in the hot air. You breathe in the scent of the sand and incense and sweat and victory. You bow your head in respect to your fallen foe. He rises awkwardly, face marked by dust and pride. The trainer raises his staff high. The arena erupts in cheers. You feel the sand tremble beneath your feet. You feel your heart pound like a drum. You feel alive in a way you never have before. Your sponsor descends the steps and strides into the ring. He clasps your shoulder and lifts his hand for silence. He reaches down and picks up your opponent's sword. He hands it back to the other man with a gesture of respect. Then he turns to you, draws your sword from its scabbard, and holds it aloft. The crowd hushes. You feel their gaze like a caress of heat. You lift your arms, and the sun strikes the blade in a last brilliant flare. You taste dust. You taste sweat. You taste the scent of sand and triumph. The trumpets sound with a final fanfare. You bow. The crowd rises to its feet. The drums thunder with celebration. You stand there, chest heaving, sword raised, shield gleaming. You have earned this moment. You have become the fighter you trained to be. And the scent of the sand, of sweat, of incense and blessing remains with you forever. Your heart drums in your ears as you step into the center of the sand. The sun has climbed high in the sky, and the steel of your sword gleams hot in its light. You taste grit on your tongue and feel sweat dampen the inside of your helmet. The crowd's roar swells around you. You raise your shield and grip your sword hilt. Across the circle stands your opponent. He is tall and broad. His helmet crests like a hawk's wing. He holds a long sword with practiced ease. He eyes you without hatred or malice, only respect and the shared knowledge that this moment will decide much. A trumpet blasts once. You lunge forward. Your blade arcs in a bright slash. He steps back and lifts his shield. The swords meet with a ring that echoes through the arena. Metal sings against metal. You taste the sound in your mouth. You kick loose sand under your foot and shift your stance. You watch his shoulders. You watch his eyes. He shifts too, weighing his own balance. You press forward with a feint to the left. He raises his sword to block. You flow to the right and drive your blade toward his thigh. He braces his shield arm and absorbs the blow. You feel a jolt in your hand as the impact travels up your arm. You press on. He counters with a swift thrust aimed at your chest. You twist away and let your shield meet the strike. The steel slides along the rim. Sparks flash. You step inside his guard. You slash low across his greave. He hops to one foot to avoid the blow. You follow through with a downward cut. He lifts his shield just in time. You both break and step back. You focus on your breathing. The sun beats on your back. Your throat is dry. You taste sweat and sand, and the promise of victory. You know you must find the opening. You know that one mistake could end this. You circle again. Your boots crunch in the sand. You see the muscles in his arms tense and relax as he grips his sword and shield. You feel your own muscles respond. You are calm. You are ready. He lunges with power. You raise your shield and parry. The force rattles your wrist. You pivot on your heel. You riposte with a quick slash to his side. He twists just enough to let the blow glance off. You feel your sword bite a tiny nick in his armor. You sense the crowd's gasp. You do not pause. You step forward and press the attack. You launch a series of strikes. He blocks each one, weaving his shield and dipping his shoulder. But your blows push him back step by step. The pain in his forearm grows. You see his expression flicker. You see the moment he realizes he must yield space. You break off and circle once more. The sun glitters on your sweat. You breathe deeply. Your lungs fill with dust and excitement. You taste the roar of the crowd in every breath. He meets your gaze and nods once. He raises his sword in salute. You return the salute. It is a moment of honor before the final strike. You wait. He waits. The crowd grows silent. Only the wind whispers through the arches. Then he attacks, not with raw power, but with speed. He thrusts low at your thigh. You catch the blade under your shield's rim. You feel the steel press into the leather lining. You twist your wrist and deflect upward. The tip of your sword slides under his arm. You drive the blade home. He staggers. The world slows. You see the blade rise. You see the shield tilt. You see his feet slip in the sand. You know this is the moment. You grip your sword with both hands and step through his guard. You bring the blade down with precision. The sword meets his shield and shatters its edge. The crowd erupts. You step back, chest heaving. You hold your sword low. He stands stunned, sword fallen from his grasp. He nods once more. He bows his head in acceptance. The trainer strides forward and raises his staff. Your victory is proclaimed. The roar that follows shakes your bones. You taste victory on your tongue. You sheath your sword and raise your shield overhead. The sun glints on bronze and steel. You feel alive in a way you never have before. The clash of steel is more than metal meeting metal. It is heart meeting heart. It is will meeting will. It is the moment when all your training, all your sweat, all your sacrifice fuses into one bright instant of triumph. You stand in the center of the circling crowd. You feel their cheers drive you higher. You feel the sand beneath your boots. You feel the warmth of the day in your veins. You raise both arms and let the glory wash over you. The clash of steel has made you more than a man with a sword. It has made you a champion in the eyes of the Empire, and in that roar you hear your future. It calls to you on the wind. It echoes in the steel. It lives in the sand beneath your feet. It is yours for the taking. The roar fades to a low thunder as you step back. The sand clings to your greaves. Your armor feels heavier now with sweat and dust. You breathe in sharp gulps, tasting grit in each breath. Your mind clears. The world narrows to your foe and your blade. He recovers first. He retrieves his sword from the sand. You hear the steel scrape against the stone rim. He raises his helmet's visor. His eyes shine with the fire of battle. He nods once, a warrior's salute. You nod in return. There is respect here. There is honor. The trainer steps forward. He plants his staff in the sand and calls for the second bout. You tighten your grip on your sword and settle your shield into position. You watch his stance. You see where his weight rests. You see the tension in his legs. He strikes first this time. A quick forward thrust. You parry to the side and pivot. Your shield meets his blade with a harsh clang. Sparks fly. You drive back and follow with a rising slash. He leaps back over the blade, sand spraying beneath his boots. You press the attack. You swing low at his legs. He brings his sword down to block, and you feel the timber of your shield tremble. You twist the edge of your blade against his guard and slash upward. The steel screeches. He stumbles, but regains balance. The nurses of the crowd lean forward, thirsty for more spectacle. You feel their eyes as hot as the sun on your neck. You answer with a swift combination. 1, 2, 3. Slash to the left, thrust to the right. Swing overhead. His shield deflects the first two. The third finds a gap under his arm. A vine of crimson blooms on his tunic. His pained grunt is lost beneath the rising drumbeat that begins anew. The rhythm courses through your veins. You let it carry you forward. He staggers but recovers. He circles you, keeping his sword between you and him. You move with him, each step measured on the shifting sand. You breathe in the dust and sweat and sun. You taste the tang of blood in the air. He lunges again. You parry and counter with a feint. Your sword swings wide. He commits to his block. You vanish beneath his guard. You strike his leg. He cries out. Blood seeps through the leather. He hops on one foot, sword arm now wobbling. You sense his fatigue. You sense his doubt. You tighten your shield arm and lift your visor for a moment. You lock eyes with him. You see he struggles to draw breath. You nod once. He nods back. The trainer calls one more exchange. He slams his staff twice against the sand. You launch yourself forward. You drive your sword in a straight, unerring line. His guard cracks. You see daylight through the gap. You step through and press the blow home. The blade meets its mark. A bright arc of red stains the sand. He crumples. The world tilts. You taste iron on your lips. You hear nothing but the pounding of your heart. You cannot recall when you last blinked. You stand above him like a sentinel. A trumpet blast shatters the silence. It is a long, triumphant note that rings in your bones. You lift your sword to the sky. The crowd rises to its feet. You hear the roar return louder than before. You feel the ground tremble. Your sponsor strides into the arena. He kneels beside the fallen. He offers water and cloth. He shows mercy, even in victory. You watch him and learn. You see that power without compassion is no strength at all. The trainer enters the ring. He lifts your visor and meets your gaze. He speaks no words. He raises his staff in a single salute. You return the salute. You lower your sword. You sheath it. You drop your shield with a soft clap against the sand. The crowd's cheer washes over you like a wave. You taste sweat and blood and triumph. Your opponent stands now. He wobbles, but does not fall. He raises his hand in surrender. You step forward and offer your arm. He takes it. You help him stand. You both face the crowd together. A final trumpet blast echoes. You bow. He bows. The crowd rises in shared appreciation. You feel the embrace of this moment. You feel the weight of every trial that led you here. You exit the ring together. You hear the trainers directing you toward the baths. You feel the sand slip from your boots. You feel the sun cool on your skin. Ahead in the corridor, you glimpse the priests waiting again. Perhaps another blessing. Perhaps a prayer of thanks. You nod to them as you pass. Beyond the doors, you see water glinting in basins. You can taste cool relief. You can taste the next chapter of this journey. For now you breathe in the scent of steel and sand and sweat and glory. You carry it with you like a banner. And you know the clash of steel has shaped you. You know the roar of the crowd has sealed you. You know you will carry this moment to the next dawn and beyond. The gates at the far end of the arena creak open and a hush falls over the crowd. You step forward, heart pounding, as the trainer signals the next spectacle. Today men share the sand with beasts. The sun beats down as the handlers usher in a sleek panther. Its coat is glossy with health. Its muscles ripple under skin as it moves. You exhale slowly, tasting sweat and dust on your tongue. The panther prowls around the circle, tail sweeping the sand. Its ears flick at the sound of trumpets. A trainer steps into the ring, staff in hand, and calls out in a low voice. The animal pauses, nose quivering. Then the trainer retreats and vanishes through a side gate. The panther turns its golden eyes on you. You rise to meet its gaze, shield held forward, sword at the ready. The beast crouches and springs. You sidestep, boots sinking into the sand. The claws slash air where your shield had been. You counter with a quick slash of steel that rattles the beast's guard. It leaps backward with grace. You take a step forward. The crowd cheers. You feel the thrill of matching strength with nature's fury. A second panther joins the first. The two circle and test each other with snarls. The handlers appear again and lock the gate behind them. You are alone with two panthers and the roaring crowd. You breathe deep. You steady the shield. You feel adrenaline flood your limbs. The first beast springs again. You meet its charge. The claws rake your shield and leave a shallow groove. You respond with a controlled thrust at its flank. The blade slides harmlessly off thick muscle. You widen your stance. You feel the weight of your armor pulling you down. You sense your strength and your limits. The second beast lunges, then spins. You block with the flat of your blade. Sparks fly as metal meets fur. You grit your teeth. You know you cannot beat these creatures with sheer force alone. You must outthink them. You remember the trainer's words about improvisation. When force fails, use cunning. You look at the panthers. You see their patterns of movement. You see the first favors a quick pounce from the side. The second strikes from above. You adjust your shield to guard against side attacks. You raise your sword high to block the downward strike. The first panther charges again from the side. You raise the shield and pivot. Sand sprays. The beast skids to a halt. You slash at its shoulder. The blade cuts shallow furrows. It pauses, surprised. You seize the moment and drive forward. The second panther leaps overhead. You duck and spin. You strike low at its hind leg. The blade bites. The beast yelps. The crowd gasps and cheers. A handler runs in to distract the panthers. He shakes a piece of meat on a pole. The beast snarls and spins away from you. You back up toward the side gate. The handler slams it open and waves you through. You step through and exhale. Your chest heaves. You taste blood from a cut on your glove. You feel the thrill of victory and the weight of your own mortality. You exit into a small threshing yard. The next demonstration begins before you recover. A heavily armored opponent stands waiting. He is clad from head to toe in bronze plate. Only narrow slits in his helmet reveal his eyes. He carries a broadsword large enough to fell a man in full stride. He swings it twice in greeting. The blow cracks the wooden beam above. Splinters fall around you. You raise your shield and grip your sword. The two of you move into the sand. The crowd presses forward, eager for the clash of iron. You feel the sun bake your armor until it feels almost liquid against your skin. You taste sweat and anticipation. He lunges first with a powerful blow aimed at your shoulder. You raise the shield and absorb the strike. The force ripples through your arm. You stagger back. He advances and swings the broadsword in a horizontal arc. You pivot and bring your own blade in a low slash. It bites into the gap between armor plates. The crowd jeers as the rivets shudder. He straightens and thrusts. The sword slides along your greave. The blow jars your leg. You feel the heat of the blade through metal. You jump back and circle. The man stands firm. His armor shines in the sunlight. He seems immovable. You feel doubt for the first time today. You remember the panthers and the lesson of cunning. You look down at the sand. The arena floor is uneven here. Midline, a small dip collects dust. You move toward it. He follows. When he lunges again, you sidestep into that dip. Your boots sink deeper. He loses his footing. His heavy armor drags on the sand. He stumbles. You seize the moment and slash upward. The blade whispers through the air and finds a weakness in his greaves. You strike again at the gap below his breastplate. He roars in surprise. You press the attack, striking wood and metal until he stagger. Then he roars again and swings wildly. You duck under the blow and flow around him. You strike at his back. Sparks fly as steel meets steel. He cries out. You keep moving. You slash at his arms until he drops his broadsword. It lands with a thunderous clatter that shakes your bones. Silence falls. The crowd holds its breath. You stand with shield raised and sword at rest. Your chest heaves. You taste sweat and steel and triumph. The trainer enters the ring and raises his staff. You have proven that man and beast can be bested with skill and spirit. You have shown the art of improvisation. You have harnessed cunning and courage. The crowd erupts. You bow to them. You bow to your fallen foes. You feel pride and humility. You exit into the shade of the corridor. The scent of incense returns faintly as you pass the priests once more. You have walked among beasts and men and forged yourself anew. And the sand remembers. It holds your marks, your sweat, your steel. It whispers your name. You will carry this triumph to the next dawn. You step back into the empty ring, while handlers guide the injured gladiator through a side gate. The air still trembles with the echoes of triumph and fear. You feel the weight of every eye on you. You breathe deeply and taste sweat and sand on your tongue. You wipe a trickle of blood from your glove and steel yourself for the next challenge. A low growl rumbles from the opposite gate. You glance over to see a massive lion shifting on its haunches. Its mane is thick and tawny, like a crown woven from sunlit silk. Its eyes glow amber and cold. You sense its power before you see the rippling muscles beneath its coat. You feel every hair on your arms stand on end. A handler steps forward, staff in hand, and calls out in a calm voice. The lion follows, moving with surprising grace across the sand. Its paws make no sound. You taste dust as it drifts from raised paws. You raise your shield in salute and draw your sword slowly, reverently. The lion stops 10 paces away and sits on its haunches. It stares at you with an ancient intelligence. The crowd holds its breath. You and the lion share a long moment of silence. You sense life and death and destiny all mingled in that gaze. Then the handler retreats. The gate clangs shut behind him. You are alone with your foe. You breathe slowly. You feel the sun hot on your helmet. You taste the tang of incense still clinging to your armor. The lion rises and pads towards you. You tighten your grip on your sword hilt. You shift your shield to your left arm. You angle your feet for balance. Your chest heaves. You taste grit on your tongue. You taste fear and anticipation. The lion crouches and springs. Its speed is blinding. You raise your shield and brace for impact. The lion's paw crashes into the rim. The shield shudders. You stagger back a step. You press your weight into your legs and spin. You strike at the lion's flank. Your sword's edge meets fur. You feel the blade bite deep. The lion roars. Sand sprays in every direction. You press on, slashing again. This time the lion leaps over your blade, landing behind you. You spin and raise your shield. The paw swipes across your back. You grunt as the claws rake your cuirass. You taste blood in your mouth. You remember the panthers and the first lesson of improvisation. You pivot on your heel. You retreat toward the gate. You know your strength lies not in overpowering this beast, but in outthinking it. The sand near the edge of the ring is soft and piled high. You step into it. The lion follows. Its paws sink deeper. You feel the lion slow for the first time. You tighten your shield arm and bring your sword up. You strike low at the hind leg. The blade finds a gap and cuts shallow furrows. The lion yelps and staggers. You press the advantage. You slash upward across the lion's shoulder. The beast roars again, more in surprise than in pain. You dodge a swipe and circle to the far side. The lion follows, heavy with slowed grace. You see the trainer on the platform, arms raised, urging you on. You feel the crowd's roar as a wind at your back. You dance around the lion, striking at exposed joints. You aim for the same soft flank again. The lion rears to strike. You drop under the blow. The sand sprays. You drive your sword between its forelegs. It roars and spins, teeth snapping. You back away as claws slash the ground beside you. Your thigh aches from the first cut, but adrenaline dulls the pain. You press in again. You slash once more at the shoulder. The blade bites. The lion stumbles. You raise your sword overhead. You deliver a final downward blow that strikes the base of the lion's mane. The staff clenches in your hand. The steel cracks against bone. The lion collapses in a cloud of dust and roars its last. Silence falls. Your chest heaves. You taste iron and grit on your tongue. You stand alone in the circle, blade raised high. The crowd erupts as one. You bow your head in respect to the fallen beast. You then turn and face your sponsor's box. His arms are raised in triumph. You wave once. You see tears in his eyes. A trainer steps into the ring and claps his staff twice. You lower your sword. You sheath it. You clink your shield against the side of the arena in salute. The lion's handlers enter and begin to tend the fallen creature. You exit through the gate. You feel every eye on your back. You taste blood in your sweat. You smell incense mingled with dust and the tang of lion's life. You pass beneath the priest's arch. One of them sprinkles water from a bronze bowl. You lift your head and let the droplets fall on your brow. You feel a moment of relief. You taste cool water on your lips. In the corridor, you meet heavily armed opponents being led in. You hear the clank of their shields and the heft of their swords. You taste steel and sweat and sand in your blood. You raise your visor and grin. You feel alive. You step into the next ring, ready to face men instead of beasts. You know improvisation will still be your greatest weapon. You know life and death wait on both ends of your blade, and you know you have earned this chance to stand again in the scent of sand, dust, sweat, and triumph. You emerge from the tunnels into a blaze of light and noise. The sand underfoot is packed smooth by the feet of countless fighters before you. The air trembles with the roar of the thousands of voices that fill the stands above. You lift your shield and look up at the tiers of marble seats. Faces lean forward, eager for the next spectacle. You feel their gaze settle on you like a weight around your shoulders. You stand at the center of the arena as trumpets blare once more. The herald's voice rings out in clear tones. He names you by your lanista, by your victories, and by the weapon you carry. The crowd responds with a thunderous cheer that shakes the very stones beneath you. You taste dust and sweat on your tongue, and feel the surge of your own heartbeat in your ears. Beyond the crowd, high above you, sit the emperor and his retinue. He watches from his dais draped in purple and gold. His scepter rests at his side, and his eyes shine with interest. Every motion he makes is picked up by the people. They follow his gaze, as if he assigns worth to each fighter. A tilt of his head, a raised eyebrow, could mean life or death for you. You raise your sword in salute, and spin your shield until they catch the sun's glare. The crowd roars again, louder this time. The emperor's lips curve in a small smile. You recognize the moment for what it is. His approval is the wind at your back. His favor can carry you farther than any blade. At the far gate, your next opponent stands waiting. He is a veteran, with deep lines on his face and scars crisscrossing his arms. He bows respectfully to the emperor's box. You return the bow, then turn to the crowd. Thousands of faces stare back at you. Children pressed to the rail hold their breath. Merchants trade wagers in quiet voices. Elders nod in solemn expectation. A hush falls over the arena. The emperor stands and raises his thumb. A cheer erupts and you feel electricity snap through the audience. His thumb points elsewhere, but the message is clear. Approval rings in every shout. You lift your sword higher. The echo of steel against steel rings like a promise. The emperor settles back into his seat, and the crowd quiets to a low murmur. You and your opponent take your stances. You breathe in the earthy scent of sun-warmed stone and incense from the morning blessing. You feel the momentum of the moment pulling you forward. He attacks first with a quick thrust. You parry and riposte. Each clash sends sparks into the sunlit air. The crowd gasps at every spark, as if fireflies danced on your blade. You sense their excitement fueling your adrenaline. You move with precision, each step calculated to draw applause. A second trumpet blast calls for a pause. The Emperor watches you both with interest as your swords rest at your sides. You feel sweat trickle down your spine. You remember the blessing of the priests. You remember every trial that formed you. Now your fate lies in the mood of the multitude and the smallest gesture of the man in purple. The Emperor raises his hand again. The crowd leans forward. His thumb turns this way, then that. Each shift is a wave that sweeps through the masses. They cheer or groan in unison. You feel the tide of public opinion rise and fall like the sea. When he lowers his hand, the moment passes. The fight resumes. You press your advantage. You strike swift blows at his guard. You sense the crowd rising to their feet as you break through. Their excitement becomes a roar that fills your chest. You drive the final strike. His sword clatters on the sand and he falls to one knee. The Emperor smiles and raises his thumb once more. The roar reaches a crescendo. You feel your victory solidify in that single motion. The crowds chant your name. You bow deeply, honoring both your fallen foe and the man whose favor sealed your fate. You walk toward the Emperor's box. Sand shifts beneath your boots. You hear children cheering and mothers weeping tears of joy. Merchants clap and toss coins into the air. The arena is alive with celebration. The Emperor stands to greet you. He extends his hand and presents you a laurel wreath. You lift it and place it on your brow. The first touch of the leaves is cool against your skin. You feel the weight of triumph and of duty. You flash a grateful smile. He nods once. You bow again and turn away. The crown of laurel brushes your hair. You feel both light and heavy. Light from the glory, heavy from the knowledge that each victory brings you closer to a fate only his thumb can seal. As you leave the arena, the gates clap shut behind you. The crowd's roar fades to a low hum. You descend the steps toward the baths. You pass fighters being tended for wounds, children offering garlands, priests preparing another blessing. In the cool chamber, you remove your armor. Water flows over your skin and carries away the dust of battle. You feel the laurel's leaves begin to wilt. You smell the crisp scent of water and soap. Your sponsor greets you there with a broad grin. He drapes a heavy cloak over your shoulders and offers you bread and wine. You bite the bread and taste its sweetness. You raise the cup and savor the rich flavor. Outside, you hear the distant echo of trumpets still calling. You stand and let the warmth of the sun dry your skin. You feel the pulse of the city all around. Today, the crowd and the Emperor have decided your fate. Today, they named you champion of the arena. Tomorrow, you will don new armor. You will meet new opponents. You will walk under the glare of sun and stone once more. But for now, you rest. You taste victory on your tongue. You taste the soft breeze carrying the scent of sand and sweat and incense. You feel the world watch you with hope and admiration. And you know that in this life of steel and sand, your destiny is forged not only by your sword, but by the will of the people and the single gesture of a man in purple. The sun has crept past its zenith when the call for mercy echoes across the arena. You stand in the center, sword raised, shield firm. Your opponent's breath comes fast. His stance falters. In that split second, you sense something shift. Not the roar of the crowd, not the gleam of steel, but a gentle turn in the tide of fate. He lowers his arm. The sword tumbles from his grasp and skitters across the sand. He kneels, head bowed, raising a single finger in the universal sign of surrender. The audience quiets, like a great wave folding back from the shore. You lower your blade and step back. The trainer's staff taps the sand lightly. Even the sun seems to pause. Above, the Emperor leans forward in his box. He grips the rail with both hands. You hold your breath. The crowd watches the Emperor, as if in a trance. He lifts his thumb straight up. The crowd erupts in relief and joy. You breathe out a long breath you didn't know you held. Hands reach for garlands, branches of laurel, sprigs of olive. Children rush to toss petals onto the sand. Women lift their husbands in celebration. The air trembles with one shared exhalation of gratitude. You walk toward your fallen opponent and extend your hand. He takes it and stands, his armor dented, shield splintered but alive. A water carrier enters the ring and offers you both a cup. You drink first. The cool water soothes your throat and washes away the grit of war. You hand the cup to your opponent. He drinks, eyes closed, as if experiencing mercy as a new sensation. The handlers bear him away to tend his wounds, and you feel a warmth in your chest at the gift of life kept. The crowd continues to cheer, but the roar is kinder now. It is not the savage cry of battle, but the shared exultation of compassion. You raise your sword in salute to the Emperor. He lowers his thumb gently. The crowd settles into a content murmur. A chorus of priests appears at the edge of the sand. They carry censers of incense and move between you and your opponent. They chant blessings soft and low. Smoke coils upward, mingling with afternoon light. You feel the sacred calm wrap around you. The priests sprinkle consecrated water in a wide circle. The dust hisses as droplets strike the sand. You and your fallen opponent are cleansed in that simple rite of mercy. In the stands, the crowd presses forward. Strangers embrace each other with tears in their eyes. Even hardened merchants and stoic soldiers turn to one another and share smiles. The relief is palpable. You sense how the act of mercy has united 16,000 souls. Your sponsor appears at the entrance and strides toward you. His face shines with pride and relief. He removes a small box and opens it to reveal 2 silver medallions. He offers one to you, then one to your opponent. You clasp your medallion to your breastplate. The other man does the same. You exchange a nod, and in that gesture you seal a bond born of combat and mercy. A herald steps into the ring with a scroll. He reads the decree of the day. Both of you are granted lifetime contracts, a rare honor. You feel the weight of the moment settle on your shoulders. Mercy has brought more reward than victory alone ever could. The crowd claps again. The Emperor stands and flings a wreath into the arena. You catch it and place it on your head. Then you place a second wreath on your opponent's shoulder. He salutes you. You salute him. 2 men joined by mercy, standing together under the bright Roman sky. As you exit, you hear children chanting your names. You hear mothers hush their babes with soft smiles. You hear merchants lower their prices and soldiers lower their swords. The city beyond the gates thrums with peace. In the bathing chamber, you step into warm water. Your sponsor helps you remove your armor. Each plate falls away and clatters softly against the stone floor. You feel the wash of water carry away the last traces of blood and dust. You close your eyes and savor the gentle heat. Your sponsor hands you a fresh cloak. You drape it over your shoulders. You feel its fine wool against your bare skin. You taste relief still tinged with salt. You open your eyes to see your opponent standing beside you. He offers you a nod. You nod back. Outside, in the corridor, you see the priests filing back to their chamber. The incense lingers in the air. The scent of compassion, of mercy, of shared humanity remains with you. You breathe it in again. In the courtyard, your fellow gladiators greet you. They clap your backs, pat your shoulders. They joke about the day's spectacle, but beneath their words you hear pride. They respect mercy as much as they respect steel. You leave the ludus at sunset. The city glows in golden light. You walk with your sponsor through narrow alleys and bustling markets. You hear laughter and music drifting from taverns. You taste the sweet air of evening cooled by the Tiber breeze. You pause at a fountain. You kneel and cup your hands in the water. You drink deeply. The water is life. You feel renewed. Behind you, your sponsor pockets the medallion he took from his box. He offers it to a beggar child who watched from the shadows. The child's eyes shine as he clasps the silver coin in his fist. You smile. Mercy has traveled beyond the sand. It has blossomed in the heart of a child who will remember it forever. It has echoed through the city streets. You hear hush of a whispered blessing carried on the wind. You walk on as the sun sets behind the hills. You carry the memory of mercy into the night. You know tomorrow the arena will call again. You know new battles await. But now, for this one perfect moment, chaos yielded to compassion. Swords were sheathed, wounds were tended, hearts were united. And the people and the emperor stood together, bound by mercy in the endless dance of beasts and men. The midday heat has faded into a softer glow as you walk back into the arena, not to fight, but to heal. Your sponsor stands at the entrance of the medical tent, a canopy of purple and gold. He gestures, and you step inside. The air is cool here, heavy with the scent of herbs and vinegar. White-robed Medici bustle about, clamps of bandages in hand, spatulas of salve, bowls of cool water. Your opponent from the lion match lies on a low cot. A medic presses a poultice of crushed mint and honey to the cut on his thigh. The steam of warmth rises and carries a faint sweetness. You wince at his grimace. He glances up and offers you a nod. You return it and approach your own healer. Your cloaks and tunics are peeled back so that leather and metal fall away. Your arm bears bruises in shades of deep purple and yellow. A shallow cut runs across your forearm, where the panther's claws raked through. You taste grit and iron in your mouth. A medic dips lint into a bowl of wine and presses it gently to the wound. You hiss as the antiseptic stings. He murmurs a prayer in ancient Latin as he daubs the cut with a salve of crushed garlic and myrrh. You smell its bitter bite mingled with incense. Another medic bends to inspect your ribs. She traces a fingertip along a bruise the shape of a man's fist. She pulls a tendon from her sleeve and wraps it snugly around your chest. You feel the tight embrace of cotton beneath your tunic. She nods, satisfied, and moves on. Your sword arm throbs where you struck the lion's flank. A man soaks a cloth in cool water scented with rosemary and presses it to your bicep. You close your eyes as the chill spreads. You taste relief and fatigue both on your tongue. You remember every blow and every dodge. A third medic finishes with your opposite leg. He loosens the strap on your greave so he can inspect the cut from the rival gladiator's blade. He smears waxy honey over the nick and binds it with linen. You flex your foot. The pain dims. He gives you a curt nod. Naked of armor and click of steel, you stand in a circle of white and crimson. Your sponsor places a heavy cloak around your shoulders. The wool is far softer than your laurel wreath, far gentler than the sand beneath your boots. You feel the weight of triumph and of care. You bow your head in thanks. Outside the tent, the crowd surges again, hungry for the closing spectacle. From the ring floats the first muted echoes of drumbeat and horn. You walk toward the gate with your sponsor at your side. The city's afternoon sun has mellowed, bathing the walls in golden light. The final act begins before you step onto the sand. A herald calls out the names of all the day's victors. One by one they emerge from the tunnel. Each is cloaked and crowned. The crowd cheers with each name, each face. You feel the rhythm of the day's triumphs pulse through you. When your name is called, the roar rises to a fever pitch. You step into the ring, laurel wreath golden in the dying sun. You lift your arm. The breeze carries the scent of healing herbs from the tent. You taste it on the air. Your fellow champions form a line. Together you stand beneath the emperor's box. He rises and salutes. The crowd bows their heads in unison, then lifts them in celebration. You feel every heart directed at you. You feel the power of shared victory. A trumpeter steps forward and plays a bright fanfare. It rings out like a clarion call. In the stands, drums beat in response. The earth shakes with applause. You close your eyes at the sound. You taste victory on your tongue, and the tang of sweat and salve on your skin. Your sponsor leads you to a low dais at the edge of the ring. Servants bring fresh water in silver bowls. You dip your hands and drink deeply. The cool liquid carries strength back into your veins. You hand the bowl to the man beside you. He drinks. His eyes gleam with relief. Silver platters appear, bearing baskets of olives, loaves of bread, bowls of figs. You break the bread and taste its warm crumb. You bite an olive and feel the salt linger. You pop a fig and let its juice run over your lips. The flavors mingle with the honey in your wounds. You savor every bite as a victory feast. A herald brings out a large banner, the name of your Lannister in bold letters of gold. Servants unfurl it for the crowd to see. The sea of onlookers rises to their feet, chanting the name in rhythm. You bow your head in gratitude. You have become more than a fighter. You have become a legend for a day. When the feast ends, you follow the others off the sand. The setting sun paints the sky in crimson and violet. You step into the corridor leading to your quarters. The priests await with fresh oil and cloth. They anoint your wounds once more, this time with a blessing for healing and safe return. You look at them and bow in thanks. They recede into the shadows. Your sponsor guides you through the corridors. You pass gladiators still tending their wounds, children peeking through barred windows, servants carrying buckets of water. At the edge of the ludus, the city lights begin to glow. Torches flicker in alleyways. Oil lamps hang in shop fronts. A tavern spills laughter and song into the dusk. You sense life pulsing beyond the arena's stone walls. Your sponsor pauses and turns to you. He lays a hand on your shoulder. He meets your gaze and smiles. You taste that smile like wine on your lips. You know he takes pride in your scars as much as in your victories. You step forward into the streets. The crowd parts to make way for you. You see children wave garlands. Merchants bow in respect. Elders rise from benches to salute you. You recognize the price of triumph. You feel honored. Tonight, the city sleeps under the memory of your success. Tomorrow, the rise of the sun will call you again. You will stand before the priests, before the crowd, before the emperor. You will face new trials in the arena of sand, but for now you rest under the healing glow of triumph. You taste bread and wine and figs and mercy. You breathe in the scent of herbs and sweat and victory. You carry the day's glory into the night, bound by wounds and by the shared joy of a city that united to honor its champions. You have faced beasts and men. You have known mercy and triumph. You have walked through fire and emerged crowned. The sand remembers you. The empire remembers you. And now you will rest, wounded and whole, until the dawn calls you back to the arena once more. You return to the ludus as the moon climbs over Rome's rooftops. The crowd's cheers still echo in your mind, but here the air is quiet, broken only by distant laughter and the drip of lanterns. You shed your cloak at the entrance and enter the common hall, where fighters gather in small groups. They nod as you pass, respect in their eyes. You catch their meaning. Today you wore the laurel wreath and walked as a champion. In the sponsor's quarters you find a table laid out with rewards. 3 bags of silver coins rest atop a fine cloth. A jeweler's apprentice places a ring of iron and amber into your hand. A small chest of scented oils waits nearby. Your sponsor gestures for you to sit. You do so on a cushioned bench, muscles still humming from the day's exertions. He pours wine into a golden goblet and hands it to you. The wine is warm and sweet, with notes of pomegranate and honey. You taste the empire's harvest in each sip. Your sponsor smiles and raises his own cup. You clink rims and drink in silence. The wine burns gently on your throat and reminds you of the price you paid to earn these coins. He opens the first bag and pours silver pieces into your calloused hand. Each coin bears the Emperor's visage. You feel their weight and imagine the toil of silver mines and armies raised to bring them here. 40 coins fill your palm. You count them once, then again. Each one promises food, lodgings, favors with merchants and innkeepers, and the chance to send a portion home. The second bag bears smaller coins, bronze for daily needs. You roll them between your fingers. You think of bread and oil and water, the cost of healing supplies, the price of a warm bath and a fresh cloak, all essentials you will gladly pay. Your sponsor nods toward the jeweler's apprentice. The apprentice steps forward and takes your hand. He slides the iron band onto your finger. The amber catches the candlelight and glows like captured sunlight. The ring is a token, a pact between you and the sponsor. It marks you as his champion until you choose another fate. You tighten the band and feel its cold metal mingle with your warm skin. Now the chest of oils. It opens to reveal small vials of lavender and rosemary and myrrh. You lift a vial of myrrh oil and uncork it. The aroma is bittersweet, ancient. You inhale and feel memories of battle and blessing rise together. You dab the oil behind your ears. It will keep the scent of victory with you, even after the sweat and sand have faded. Your sponsor clasps your shoulder and says, "The city sleeps under your name." You bow your head. No words can capture the gratitude you feel. You rise and pace the small room. The walls are lined with tapestries depicting past champions. You study their faces, worn with age, stiff with pride. You feel kinship. You feel a lineage that stretches beyond your own life. He offers you a seat beside him. You sit and lean back. The cushions cradle your spine. For the first time since dawn, you allow calm to settle over you. The weight of armor is gone. You feel as if you could sleep for a week. Your sponsor begins to speak of the darker debts owed. He reminds you that each victory binds you to obligations. Benefactors expect attendance at banquets, signatures on official decrees, appearances at local temples. You will entertain senators and generals, merchants and magistrates. They will toast your name. They will ask for favors. They will test your loyalty. You nod and listen. You know the price of fame. You know that crowds united in relief can quickly turn to crowds seeking spectacle. You know that mercy grants you glory today, but tomorrow the drums may call you back to the sand. Your sponsor places a map on the table. He marks routes to distant provinces where new commissions await. He speaks of games to be held in Alexandria and Carthage, in Ephesus and Antioch. He speaks of opportunities and of risks. You sense the thrill of travel and the danger of exile. He says, "Will you go?" You feel your pulse quicken again. You remember the scent of the sand and the roar of the crowd. You remember every blessing and every wound. You weigh the map's possibilities. You see wealth and renown. You see distance from home and the empire's endless demands. You answer, "I will go." The words feel heavy and light at once. You accept the debt for the chance to be more than just a gladiator in Rome. You will become an ambassador of your art. You will carry your laurel wreath beyond the Tiber. He nods, satisfaction in his eyes. He lifts his cup again and toasts your future. You drink. The wine tastes of promise and of price. You taste anticipation and the memory of sand and sweat. Later, you retire to your quarters. You find your fellow fighters asleep on their mats. You slip into your own bedroll. You hold the silver coins in one hand and the ring band in the other. You stare at the amber glimmer and think of sunlit arenas yet to come. The oil still lingers on your skin. You taste its fragrance and feel your wounds burn beneath the bandages. You close your eyes and drift towards sleep. You dream of packed stands, of trumpets and drums and roaring crowds. You dream of mercy and of victory. When dawn comes again, you will rise and train as before. When the sun is high, you will march in procession. When noon arrives, you will stand under the priest's blessing. When afternoon comes, you will clash steel once more. And when dusk settles, you will count your debts and your rewards, your fame and your obligations. For behind the laurels lie both triumph and duty. You carry them both as you step forward into the Empire's endless stage. You carry them both as you remember the price of glory is never paid in full. And in that balance between reward and debt, you remain a champion, bound to the arena and to the world beyond its walls. Under the morning sun, the Colosseum stands as a monument to power and spectacle. You enter side corridors lined with columns carved in relief of triumphal processions. Even here, the scent of incense mingles with dust. You follow a narrow passage that leads behind the Emperor's box, where senators and court officials gather before the day's games. Their robes gleam in silk and embroidery. Jewels flash at their sleeves and collars. You feel the weight of their scrutiny, even before they notice you. Your sponsor guides you to a small antechamber. A chamberlain bows deeply and offers cushions on a low bench. You sit while your sponsor greets a circle of patricians. They murmur of grain shipments, of taxes, of the latest frontier victory. Then one clears his throat and nods at your sponsor. "Let us see our champion," he says. He smiles thinly as he gestures toward the arena gate. Your sponsor nods back. He turns to you and says quietly, "Remember the eyes upon you. Today is more than battle. It is theater of empire." You steady your breath and rise, bowing to the assembled dignitaries. You feel their gaze as flames on your armor. You walk through the curtain and into the corridor leading to the sand. A trumpet fanfare greets your arrival. The crowd cheers, but your mind sharpens on the faces above. You lock eyes with a senator whose silver beard is precisely trimmed. He motions subtly to his aide, who tilts his head and taps a scroll. You wonder if the scroll names which gladiators to favor, which outcomes to encourage. The senator smiles when you raise your shield. You echo the salute just before stepping onto the sunlit sand. Above you, the emperor sits beneath his canopy. His toegate figure is framed by purple banners. On his brow rests the laurel wreath, a symbol of victory and divine right. He raises a scepter and surveys the arena. You feel the hush as his presence quiets the roar of the masses. You breathe in the electric silence, savoring the moment. Your next opponent emerges, a gaunt veteran whose years in the ring are etched in every scar. You nod at him. He nods back. The crowd grows quiet in anticipation of your clash. Then the emperor extends his arm, fist clenched, thumb pointed down. The command is clear: no mercy. The crowd's silence twists into a sharpened tension. You raise your sword and shield and meet the warrior's eye. Your swords crash and sparks fly. You taste dust on your tongue and feel the senator above lean forward, eager for the spectacle. You parry a strike and thrust in return. The veteran recoils, then counters with a brutal swing. You block with your shield and spit grit from your mouth. The clang of steel echoes around you. Above, the crowd shifts. Some cheer your advantage. Others murmur as if unsure whether such decisive force meets the emperor's will. A tribune in gleaming armor watches closely, his calculated gaze tracking each blow. You wonder if he texts his orders to the Praetorian Guard at that very moment. You dodge a vicious slash and press the attack. Your blade finds the man's side. He staggers. You sense the senator above, give a furtive nod. You plant your feet and deliver the final blow, driving him to his knees. The emperor's thumb reverses, palm up, a gesture of mercy. The crowd exhales relief in a single collective breath. You drop your sword to one knee and offer him a hand. He rises and bows his head to the emperor's box. The senator closes his scroll with a snap. He claps once, deliberately, setting off a ripple of applause. You bow deeply to the emperor. The crowd joins in cheers that shake the arena. You stand and scan the stands, meeting as many eyes as you can. Each nod is a reminder that this victory belonged not only to strength of arm, but also to the will of the throne. Later, you descend to the imperial platform. A steward offers you a goblet of spiced wine. You take it and taste cinnamon and clove, luxuries that speak of the emperor's favor. You turn to the emperor. He lifts his cup and raises an eyebrow in approval. You lift yours and drink. The wine burns smooth, and you feel its warmth fill your chest. In the days that follow, you notice the city's pulse change. Grain fleets arrive sooner than expected. A tax decree is quietly posted in the forum that spares a portion of olive oil duties. You hear rumors of land grants to veterans. Each measure follows in the wake of your victories. You realize the emperor uses the games as more than public distraction. He wields the spectacle as a tool of influence, shaping policy with each cheer and gasp from the stands. Patricians approach you in taverns and markets. They praise your valor and ask for private exhibitions before closed courts. They slip you tokens of gold and gifts of silk. You accept with a measured smile. Each gift binds you closer to the labyrinth of politics you once thought distant. Meanwhile, you receive letters sealed with imperial wax, invitations to festivals at the Palatine Hill, offers to train the children of nobles. You read them beneath the glow of oil lamps, each candle's flame flickering with promise and danger. You feel the hush of power gathering around you. You think back to the Christian priest who once told you mercy and forgiveness are the greatest virtues. You wonder if that priest knew how vengeance and favor mingle in these arenas. You wonder if the emperor's smile hides a hunger as fierce as any lion's. But you carry on. You steel your heart as you would your shield. You know that in this world of power and pageantry, your sword is more than tool of combat. It is an instrument of policy. Each victory becomes a statement. Each defeat risks falling out of favor. In the quiet before dawn, you step into the training yard. You raise your sword in salute to the empty stands. You practice strikes and parries as if each is watched by unseen eyes. You hone your skill not only to survive the sand, but also to navigate the shifting currents of influence swirling above. For in the politics of the pit, the emperor's gaze and the crowd's roar can be both your crown and your noose. You carry your laurel wreath as a talisman, a reminder that each victory brought you favor at the cost of becoming part of the game itself. And so you walk the line between blade and throne. You serve the will of the people, swayed by crowd and emperor alike. You fight not only for triumph beneath the sun, but also for a place in the empire that shapes your fate far beyond the sand. In this ring, every clash of steel echoes through the corridors of power. Every cheer becomes a mandate. Every lesson in mercy or revenge becomes the forge of law. You learn that here, politics and combat are one, and in that unity, you stand as both warrior and actor on the grandest stage of all. You think it looks glorious on film. Gleaming helmets, sweeping capes, heroic poses in slow motion, the applause, the adoration, the medals and money, the laurel wreath and lifelong fame. But you would not last a single sunrise in the fighting pits of Rome. You would not last one dawn in the Ludus, dragged from a plank of straw and herded through freezing corridors to face the clang of iron in the chilly pre-dawn. You would not last the first bite of cold bath water sent steaming hot to bristle your skin, or the first bolt of metal armor locked around your chest until it cut the breath from your lungs. You would not last the first cut of sand in your boots as you step into the narrow tunnel toward the arena. You would not last the first hiss of incense and vinegar on your open sores, and the first taste of blood on your tongue when the priest sprinkles consecrated water in the ring and prays for your soul. You would not last the first crack of whip on collar and the first shout of the trainer demanding more speed, more strength, more perfect steel. You would not last the first real fight. The soldier with the imperial sword shouts your name. You grip your shield too tight and your arms buckle under its weight. The soldier loses his sword point in your shield and does not blink. He hurls his round shield at your head before drawing a second blade. You lift your arms to block both, and your helmet slides over one eye. You taste sweat and dust, and you stagger. He lunges again, and your side cranes under the strike. You collapse, gasping, and the sand finds its way into your lungs. The crowd roars. You choke. You would not last the lawyers of the crowd calling for your life. You would not last the emperor raising his thumb either way. You would not last the moment of silence after the blow when you hear your own heartbeat flood your ears. You would not last the first grunt of relief when he spares your life, but the whip drives into your back before you can stand again. You would not last the sting that opens your flesh. You would not last the scent of the medic's tent, the pungent vinegar and the garlic oil, the bone saw and the rusted pincers. You would not last the first pinch of hot iron to cauterize a wound. You would not last the rat that scurries across the floor and nibbles at stray scraps of flesh. You would not last the stench of carrion that seeps in because sometimes men die on the cot before they can be buried. You would not last the days of training that follow, every muscle screaming under the drag of leather and steel, every tendon humming under the lash of the trainer's whip. You would not last the months of drills until your scars crack and your hands split open again. You would not last the hunger of bread and olive oil and water rations measured by the Medici to keep you lean and desperate. You would not last the months of exile when the emperor commands games in Carthage or in Athens. You would not last the sea voyage that jostles your bones and leaves you half mad in cramped quarters. You would not last the smell of sickness when fever spreads in the hull. You would not last the moment when a comrade cries in his sleep and dies, and the guards throw his body over the rail. You would not last the endless march back through the forum, once to exalt you, once to shame you, each time the crowd deciding whether to praise or to stone you. You would not last the first hiss of rumor that you cheated or that you trembled. You would not last the betrayal of a sponsor who trades you for another fighter. You would not last the price of fame when loyalty costs more than silver. You would not last the knowledge that every fight could be your last, and that none of it matters when the emperor turns his gaze away. You would not last the memory of sand under your nails. You would not last the taste of blood on your teeth. You would not last the echo of metal on metal ringing in your dreams. You would not last the curse carried on the wind when the spectators cry for vengeance or mercy. You would not last the deathly hush when a champion falls. You would not last the shriek of the handlers dragging you out of the ring. You would not last the hollow routine of victory if tomorrow the crowd turns cold and the next emperor favors another face. You would not last the darkness beneath the Colosseum, the flicker of oil lamps and the scurry of rats, the distant drip of water on stone. You would not last the cold corridor that leads nowhere but to another fight. You would not last a day as a gladiator. You would not last a single sunrise, a single blessing, a single clash of steel. You would not last the thrill of triumph, nor the agony of defeat. You would not last the weight of death ever pressing at your shoulder. You would not last because you still have too many choices. You still have a bed that locks. You still have food that fills your belly. You still have water that flows clean from fountains. You still have a life that is yours to keep. Here you fight because duty demands it. Here you fight because exile means ruin. Here you fight because the crowd and the emperor hold your fate in their palms. But you, out there in the stands, you would not last. You would not survive one dawn in the ludus. You would not survive one fight in the sand. You would not survive the artist's applause, nor the doctor's scalpel, nor the emperor's whim. So dim the lights, pull your blanket close, sleep in peace, beyond the sand, beyond the steel, beyond the glare of the crowd and the gaze of the throne, because this world was never meant for you. In the soft hush between blink and dream you rest, knowing that tomorrow you will walk in sunlit streets, free from the price of combat etched in your bones. You would not last a single day as a gladiator. Good night.